Okay, we're going to shift gears now, and we're going to install Kali Linux, and then we will configure the firewall after Kali Linux is installed. However, before we start to install Kali Linux, we need to go ahead and start pfSense. Now, pfSense needs to be running because we need to be, the DHCP that we set up before needs to be operational when we install Kali Linux. So we can just start it. We don't really need to make any changes to it. We'll just minimize it and we'll install Kali Linux. So we start by selecting Machine and then New. We will just name it Kali and save the location that you want the virtual machine to be saved. Do not select the ISO yet, but we will select the type as Linux, and we want this to be Debian 64-bit. Once you've had those choices made, then select Next. Now, I'm going to put my memory to 4 gigabytes of RAM, and that's just because I have enough on my host system. If you're limited on your host, then go ahead and just keep it at 2 gigabytes. And I'm also going to give it 2 processors. And once again, if you're resource constrained, 1 processor will probably be fine. Then select Next. And I'm going to give it 120 gigabytes of hard drive space. And once again, we're not pre-allocating the full size, so it will only take up as much space as needed. So even though we have it set at 120, if it only takes up 20 gigs, then it's only going to take up 20 gigs. Then we'll select the Next. You can review your settings, then select Finish. So now what we need to do is go into the settings for the virtual machine. First thing we'll do is we'll go to System, we'll disable floppy, move the hard disk and optical disk up. Then we'll switch to storage. And this is where we're going to now link it to that Kali Linux ISO. So select the empty, then over on the disk icon, select the Kali Linux installer ISO. Once you've done that, go to network. And we want to set this to an internal network and ensure that the adapter is enabled, of course. Drop down to Advanced, go to Para-Virtualized Network. Select OK. Now we're ready to start the Kali Linux machine and start the installation. So go ahead and select Start. We do want the graphical install, so you can select Enter. Select your language, your location, the keyboard, and now it's going to install. We'll pause the video during the install. Okay, so the first prompt we get is the host name. We're going to keep it at Kali. We can keep the domain blank for now, so hit Continue. For the user, I'm going to choose Elliot. And we'll keep the same username for the account. You notice that it is all lowercase. Select Continue. And then you need to give it a password. Just ensure that you do not forget the password. And then select Continue. Okay, you set the clock, so I'm going to set it for Eastern. I'm going to use the entire disk. So select continue. Select continue again. And continue again. Now we can finish the partitioning. So we select continue once more. We'll change this to yes. We'll pause the video as this installs. Okay, we're going to make a slight change here. We want to deselect and choose no. Then select continue. Pause the video again. Okay, select yes when the grub bootloader option comes up. And then we want to go ahead and not enter the device manually. So we'll highlight that line and click continue. As the installation finishes, we'll go ahead and pause the video. Okay, we're almost completed. We can click continue to reboot. And the system will reboot for us. All right, so we're prompted to log in with the user that we created. So go ahead and log in with the password that you set up. Okay, so we have Kali open. We'll go full screen. So what we want to do now is just make sure that DHCP server was working correctly on pfSense. So we're going to hit IPA to get our IP address. And we see we did get the IP in the 10.0.3 range. So the DHCP server is working correctly. In the next video, we're going to configure the firewall. So keep the Kali Linux box open because we'll be using the browser from the Kali Linux box to configure the firewall.